Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Sunday, August the 18th, 2019, and back with my gal pal posse, Lisa Flamino Rush and BZ Reader. And I'm not quite sure what we're actually going to end up calling this one, but BZ, you were talking about your lunch in your crystal room. We were talking about that earlier before we started recording. And you got some pretty good, I'll just say this. I'd like to have the kind of lunches that you had, because you had a big download during your lunch. So
yeah.
And we're going to talk
the
about
actual lunch part, but I got all the other stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk about what your experience was and how it really kind of relates to right now. So however you would like to begin, that's because this is actually a really good one, I think.
Well, I'm not quite sure how to piece it down. It was when I took the different, I sat in the chair in the crystal room, and I love to say that because I live in a tiny house and it's 390 square feet. So, but I have different areas, so now they're rooms, and
I like that.
And so the energy of the crystals infuse the whole house, but right there in the.
Well, while you're showing that, BZ, yeah, aim it down just a little bit so they can get the full feel. Okay, so that's the crystal room. Now, if anybody remembers WKRP in Cincinnati, there was a feller that had his imaginary wall for his office. I don't know. Every time you say the crystal room, I see an imaginary wall there. So just so we're clear. I love that.
So I thought, well, I need to sit down. I was compelled to sit down in the crystal room and pretty much immediately went unconscious. I didn't fall asleep, I just went unconscious. And when I came back, since I know to always have a pad handy, I jotted a bunch of scribbled notes and this, that, and the other thing. And I was laughing because there seemed to be threads or nuggets or little snippets of Bible quotes in there. And I used to go to church 6 days a week, but that was a long time ago. Anyway, so I parsed it all through, and then when we sat down to talk off camera, I just came through, and it turns out that there's 7 of them, which is the number for the divine. And the thought was to play with them in little, as Lisa described it, bite-sized pieces, and it's the thought that comes up now, as I said that again, Lisa, is bite-sized bits of sustenance to move through. Either it's, oh yeah, and it opens up a seeing, or an understanding of, okay, that's a mouthful.
I should say so.
You say no.
As I had a look at the menu. Woo!
So which one did you want to start with? You want to just start at the top, or how do you want to?
I think just start at the top. And the first one was that we no longer can be separated. There is no separation anymore with us repelling with fear. So whether we would categorize it as something that we're afraid of or fearful, there's only love or fear. You can call them all different things, and that would be fear, and you can call them all different things, and that would be in the frequency of love. But there's only love or fear. And we create our separateness because we repel all that is of love from that fear. And so the first one that came through is that when we let go of our attachment to all things, then we have access to all things. Someone said, what does that mean? Well, I think it can be meaning different things to different beings, but wanting things to unfold a certain way. They're not here, they are here, they're not right, they're not this. I don't have enough, too much of that. Anything that is an attachment, anything that is an attachment by its very nature is that there is a lack, so a fear, which is repelling the totality of what it is that encompasses that attachment. So it's like a hook.
I'm trying to equate that for me in a way that I can, you know, give it back to you in my words so I can make sure I got what you're saying there.
What were you saying, Lisa?
What were you saying, Lisa?
Well, no, I was just going to say, for me, it's about not the non-attachment is I'm trying to stay in the sacred neutral where everything just is, so it's not being in resistance to what is. For me, it's just easier for me to see it that way, because sometimes attachment would trick me up. But so I'm attached to it looking in a certain way, and I know that because it doesn't look that way. It looks this way. And so that makes me very unhappy. And then that whatever it is that I'm looking at that is looking this way instead of that way, which I prefer, then I am now in resistance to this. And really what I'm doing is perpetuating it through that resistance. That makes sense.
Yeah, and you kind of a Star Trek-y thought came to mind when you were describing that. The energy of what you were describing is that your resistance to it, or your attachment to, you know, again, so attachment to it looking this way, or a resistance to it showing up that way, right?
Right.
It's like
exactly.
This super bender wave tool thingy that you got, and it blinds you from what is actually so and what's shown up. So you can't see what's shown up for what it really is, what it holds, all it encompasses, and the expansiveness is of it, because your attachment or resistance, again, it's the same thing, just mirror image of each other, is bending the light, bending the frequency, bending the truth, your truth of it, and you can't see it. Does that make sense?
Well, it's almost like it bends to reflect what you believe or the frequency you're holding about it.
Right.
And I'm using the word resistance because it usually means because you're not happy with
Right.
what is. So you perpetuate what is, or it has to morph to because yes, you're right about whatever it is that you're thinking. And so if you don't like what you're seeing, then you have to like you said, see what is. And the truth of it is everything is a potential. It's all just what it is, and it's what I do with it.
Right.
That makes it anything.
It's kind of like, you know, saying, well, there's this block of clay, and you're resistant to the block of clay, yet the clay can be crafted, molded, massaged, created, flowed into anything. But if we're sitting there going, I'm resistant to this block of clay, well, we can never
ugly.
Do that creative piece, and we're the one who does the creative piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when these were coming in, and it was funny because they came, and I was describing to you guys that they came in different ways. Some came in like a whole video scene that happens a lot when I get information or have conversations with myself, or however you want to hold it that way. Some were a vignette recall, and I describe that as if I, you know, when we're having this video conversation, and I'm here, I know what's going on outside and what's in the rest of the space in my house and the three of us and all that kind of stuff. And so 10 minutes, you know, if we stop and 10 minutes down, I can have a recall of a vignette of that and recall all of that again. So not only what I would be seeing on the camera monitors, but off to my right and left and down below or right outside or those kinds of things. So some came like that, where in those instances I knew so in that example of this, I know I'm here. I remember when I'm recalling that's there. And this was, those recall vignettes were happening when I was unconscious, right? You know, in the chair part. Okay. And then the third way that they came through in this particular lunch break was they were, I forgot how I phrased it to you guys earlier, but where it was like snapshots of a mission or something something occurring. But what I don't recall part is was it me there that was occurring with it, or was I watching through an aspect of me doing it? And I'm not certain right this moment, maybe this first conversation, this matters, but part of what I do see, Evan, going through that whole experience and then sharing some of it with you guys before we turn on the camera, is there's a game, a flow, a play, kind of a muscle tool building thing to it in going through traveling. You know, like if you're going to play a game, if you're going to play a big sport or something like that, you know, you warm up, you go through different things and you have a different routine and you experience different things, and then you know, it's kickoff and you go out on the field. Does that make sense? So it's almost like this whole thing that came in and flowed forth is part of that.
Okay, so like you're saying that this whole entire thing that came through you're saying is a sort of a warm up for yourself. Is that what you're saying?
No, it was a confirmation, a putting I guess maybe linear phraseology on some things that I have been experiencing rapid fire, and also as we get to a little later, and some things that come up where I can experience with part of me, because part of me is on one energetic neighborhood and another part of me so one is work thing and one is the rest of me, so life and this, that, and the other thing. And as we'll talk about later on, you know, there is no time lag anymore, so it can be pure elation and pure the rocks are falling pretty much simultaneously, because I let myself bifurcate in the energy. So I'm holding two energy threads, if that makes sense. And the only way I can describe it is that I innately knew to quit doing that, because, you know, the rocks fall, you go, huh, wonder what I did to do that, you know? At the same time, it's joyous, and I knew that they weren't coming from each other.
Mm.
Yet wherever I go, there I am, so they're coming at the genesis of me. So I figured it out on my own, and today in lunch hour, I got why it was that, and now I got the recipe, and I'll do my best to really clean it up and quit doing that. So maybe at this point, unless you had, remember what you were wanting to ask, Sheila, or express, is play with the thought for a minute. Could you just think for each of you in to yourself, and all for in yourself, you know, are there things that come up right to mind that you're attached about or attached to, or the kind of the reverse of that, that you're wanting, can't wait to get this, have this, be this, do this, right? So it's the same kind of thing as it's something that's there, not yet. And that flows in with the whole idea, is that surrendering our attachment to something, how it is, how it's going to look instead of what is, right? You know, I don't have money, so that's stopping me from having X, Y, and Z. So that's attached to being small. That's attached to not realizing that you create your own reality. You actually are the whole sum total of your reality. And another way to say it is you're the center of your universe. And that has nothing to do with someone just said ego's kiss. It's not, no, there is no ego actually involved in that at all. It is how actually all of the mechanics and the quantum field works. There just happens to be bazillions, you know, of the different individual universes. So maybe if you thought for a moment, tune in for a moment, is there, and you can give voice to them, or just kind of see if, you know, a paper unfurls for you, you know, or a list gets scribed, or whatever it is of attachments, things that you have, you know. Is there anything on all the attachments?
Oh, how long we got? No, yeah, I'm sure that, because I'm finding attachments to things that I didn't even think of were attachments to things, you know. Mm-hmm. So, or outcomes, or, you know, there's all kinds of at least being open to seeing my attachments has made it somewhat easier to see them, because, you know, I think that's something else that we were going to talk about too, and this is how things become very glaringly obvious at this point. But not maybe obvious to everybody but me. I mean, you know, right. Because I still have an attachment to it, you know, or something like that. Yeah, that has, you know, happened, I'm sure, to everyone, you know. Oh crap, that's why that, oh, I didn't see that, I didn't know, you know. I'm always the last one to know. Everybody else in the room can see it. I'm the only one that can't. And that happens for all of us, by the way, and I'm okay with it, because at least, you know, I'm open to seeing it. And And so what? It takes me a hot second. I'll be okay. I'll figure it out. But yeah, no, there's lots of things that, you know.
So before we play with Lisa for a minute, let's flip that just for a minute. So don't necessarily need to enumerate them, but yes, you said, yeah, there's a whole bunch of attachments, and you're realizing new ones that you didn't see before, that weren't there, whatever it was, right? Okay, so now can you go to pull out to the other side, because we're doing a holding actually is what this is. So but the other side is allowing all things, right? So being open to all things. And can you see that all is available to you? Can you conjure a list? List is linear, yes, but we got to get to somehow, this is way beyond linear, so we somehow got to, just wait till we get to the end.
It's getting better.
Shazam!
Well, I'm not quite sure. I have felt that, yes, that the all is available. I've been very clear for a long time now that for me, it's been a matter of focus and attention, because I do know that we're creating in every moment of every now, creating. And it's through the absolute focus and attention of what it is that I'd like to do it consciously.
Yeah.
So, but I have noticed, yes, that I don't know if in the last couple of days things feel different, and smoother isn't the right word. So I feel like I'm being more open to seeing things in the all rather than not seeing them. You know what I mean? When something that I would like to do or be or have or whatever, I just assume that it's going to be, and it may not be right this minute, but it's coming. I'm just going with that, and just being open to whatever presents. I know that sounds very murky or not very clear or whatever, but that's all I've got on that right now.
Well, it's surrendering your attachment.
Yeah, the whole reason that we're in these different spots tonight, I had to surrender my attachment to where we did this recording because of the whole sitch, right? And very clearly I've created this situation, so it's very, very much the same there. And I turned to Lisa, I said, well, looks like the stuff I'm traveling with just keeps getting thinner and thinner and thinner. I guess neither one of these computers are going. So I'm not exactly attached to it anymore, and we'll just see what presents, but there's very clearly something going on there that I've created, and I'm not quite sure. It's another one of those things where it was an unconscious creation for me. I'm not sure I really have to know why or what I did to bring that on. It's just obviously there's some sort of an attachment or an issue there of some sort that I've created for myself. And I'm not going to stress over trying to figure it out either. Which is a bit of a different thing for me. So maybe that's part of what you're speaking on here too. I think that's what I meant by the smoother. Normally I would have started freaking out because it was 30 minutes to BZ time, and I'm sitting in here, my computer won't do this, and yes, it could have been. But I was in there working on it for a good hour before. I just knew it would work out, and I wasn't worried about it before I even told Lisa what was going on. And we made the decision, the arrangements to, Lisa would be in the bedroom on her phone and me out here on her laptop like 5 minutes before we were due to come in here. So I feel like that's sort of the same thing you're speaking on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I can notice that change in how I approach that when I find something like that.
What about you, Lisa? How would you relate that in your life? That how you're flowing through it?
Well, for me personally, I have to say, I used to be really, really, really hard on myself for where I was. Like I always thought I should be further along than what I am. In everything, really, really strong. I was so resistant to what is. I couldn't hardly find any happiness at all. And I was just thinking about this yesterday in the gazebo. I was sitting out there and thinking about how long it has taken me to get to where I am today, in my own comfort level inside my skin is what I'm referring to. And feeling at peace with what is, whatever it is that I'm looking at. And I remembered when I would have done exactly what Sheila did and wanted to say, well, it took me so long, or, make reference to the fact that, yeah, I'll get there, but I'm really slow. I'm going to take forever, or whatever. And I had to laugh because I was really remembering some of the subtle nuances of stuff in my life. It was like I was going through a little bit of a life review, if you will, because it was just like things that were tied together were flashing, but they didn't happen. They happened gradually over time. And so in my hindsight is 20/20 vision, I was able to really clearly see them, and they were sort of popping up one after another. And I thought, wow, I really couldn't hurry that along. And I found myself being very appreciative that I have all the time that I need to make it happen. I mean, like, I could see the beauty in the way that it happened. Exactly. Like divine design, even. And I was in awe and quite impressed with myself. And I was feeling so happy that it made me want to cry because of the beauty, not because I was angry at the situation or in resistance to myself or any part of myself or my creations that are surrounding me. So I don't know. I feel that this energy shift for me personally, the energy of maybe even the last maybe 30 days in particular has just really taken me to a position that I've never seen from before. Like I know it's there, and I've wanted to get there someday, but all of a sudden I'm like looking around and going, oh wow, like this is a really new perspective for me. And I'll describe it this way. I feel as though my whole life being here was so difficult, and it felt like holding my own space and being really happy and comfortable got a little bit harder every day. It's just a little bit harder each moment. And all of a sudden, there's been this dam breaking or something for me, where I feel as though finally the wind is at my back, and every step I take, it's a little bit easier, and everything is coming to me with more ease and more grace. And maybe it's not even that the things that are happening in my life are so different, but the quality with which they are happening. Like, this is coming to me. And I know this is really small, but in my life, it's really, really big at the same time. Do you remember when I had my atlas adjusted? And I didn't, it wasn't until the adjustment that I realized that when I turned my head from side to side, I could feel and almost hear like bumps and crickles and rivets, and it was a crunchy ride. Let's just say that. I crunch this way and then crunch this way. And after the adjustment, there's a glide and a smoothness to it that, like, I'm the Tin Man and I finally got oiled and I'm gliding, and, like, I don't know. So this energy to me has helped reveal to me, more of the beauty of me, more of the beauty of all of it. Like, it used to be I would watch the news and feel triggered, like, oh, my side isn't winning. And what was going on, it didn't matter. I just realized that I had a side, if you will, right? And I was resisting to the play that was playing out, because in some perceived way, I was seeing that I was losing something somehow. Anyway, I'm finding it harder and harder to narrow the aperture that small, that becomes my whole reality and then affects my mood. Because now I'm starting to see the necessity of this over here, because at the same time it's creating and allowing this over here, which is actually facilitating the beginning inkling of this. And this is, where I'm going. So by allowing everything, I'm noticing that the beauty that wishes to express itself through me is being hampered less and less by me. And so, because the energies are so deliciously amplified at this moment, I feel as though everything around me is changing. And from one perspective, you could say, well, you're kind of full of hooey because nothing's changed. And yet, my experience of my life has changed on every level. And so that would be a complete misnomer to say that nothing in my life has changed. So.
Yeah, you actually, I was making a mental list of all the things that you were doing a beautiful job describing, but I want to start with the very last one. You just gave a great, tangible, real world example, and maybe a little bit of a smarmy coming in saying, well, nothing's really changed, but yes, it has, right? To what I was talking about at the very beginning,
mm-hmm.
in that tool, that bender tool, right? When we're attached to something or resisting something, it bends what is there, and so it distorts it. It makes a mirage for us to see. And the mirage that we see, that's the unreal part. That's the, when we think we're missing something and we don't have it yet, or I can't wait to, or not enough, or this is blocking me, thwarting me from.
Right.
And all of that is attachment to, and at the root it's fear. At the root it's, being small. And when you release all of that, you get into that place that you described, where everything has changed, where how it flows, how it unfolds, the sheer quality and aliveness, and to be very tangible for a moment, the creational building blocks that you now have amassed, and know that you have amassed them and they're there, are now unstoppable.
Yes.
And so you just go forward with that. But you couldn't create, whatever it was that was on your list, either ahead of time you wanted to create, or that you might think about, or that, right? Because you didn't have that allowing, that surrender to the truth of who you are. You forgot that you were unstoppable. You forgot that you were not small. You forgot that you were a creator being. You forgot that everything comes from you. Now you've worked yourself around in the linear way, right? Using the linear kind of touch points or brackets, or, everyone is, I'm trying to go linear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've used those to now show you, no, you've got it all right here, and there's no attachment to not having them, which now is bringing us, this part that came through is that everything is available to you. So you've changed that.
Yep.
Because most people know they can want something and they get it, but if they're focused over here, as we started this conversation, well, I want it to look like that. They could have the greatest thin sliced bread come in the door. They could have, the new clothes, the new car, the new guy, gal, the new whatever it is. But if they're over here, they're attached over here, nothing will satisfy. You get that out of here. I don't want that. I want this. Because it's blinded us to everything else.
Yeah.
What you described at the end there, the way that it painted a brilliant picture for me, is that you've let go. You've surrendered all of that. You've pushed it off the painting easel, whatever metaphor you want to use, the magic laser focus and creation, replicating machine, however you want to focus it on. So you just in the step to choose it and create it. But you had to get all that perceived stuff out of the way yet, and perceive to remember it. Everybody's gonna kind of decode it in their own way, but this whole, I guess this is a series of short ones are gonna show us, it's like lining out in a more linear way what the quantum multidimensional energies are here, and what's here right now that is unstoppable and unavoidable and unignorable, and all those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when both of you were speaking there in regards to that, what I've noticed, because what came for me in both of what you spoke of is in regards to the widening of the aperture, the ability now, and I can't not, you can't unsee it, you can't unknow it. The widening of that aperture, that has facilitated all of it for me. The widening of that aperture, the feeling into all of this with the two of you over the last 2 years here, has made the complete difference. Because with that widening, like I said, you can't unknow it, you can't unsee it, you can't, And these sorts of things and feelings as they come in, they can't be denied. So at that point, there's no, I mean, it would be ridiculous to try to deny it to myself. So being open and to seeing those attachments, as you said. Well, for the other thing is, what I've noticed too is it actually is fun when I stopped being so attached to certain different kinds of things, or because an attachment can also be an expectation of something too. I mean, being attached to something turning out a specific way or whatever. And that also kind of dulls the experience, or that's something that I noticed.
Yeah, because you selected your filters already, and if it doesn't match the filter, you can't see it because you're like, and so all the synchronicities, all the flow, all the co-creation, because you got the wide open aperture, and if you are putting the shields, the filters on, you can't see the stuff over here, and the stuff over here is exactly what you wanted. You, for like 30 years, you've been harping on, I want this, but you're going like this, and you can't see what's over here.
Exactly.
Right here. It's in your face.
Yeah, and that actually, of course, not extends, but part of that has to do with the conditioning that we've put on ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's surrendering to it. It's surrendering to that. And you're surrendering to yourself. You're surrendering to, repelling things with fear. Because that's you're this amazing, we've all been this amazing repel gun. And we are surrendering to that and opening to love, which is that tool that creates everything. In a real, tangible, touchable, palpable, feelable, drivable, rideable, however you want to say it-able thing. It's not, well, it can be categorized as anything one feels, the need to categorize it. But at its very basic level, it's actually molecular, quantum, scientific, provable laws and actual energetic creational building block force that we are now coming into our own recognition, understanding, and as we get to the end of this, that mastery of.
You said, both of you kind of touched on the fear portion of all of it, and I think I'm not sure if that's where. What was the next one we were going to talk about? It was something that you both said earlier in regards to, well, BZ, you talked about that there only being love and fear. And, I've said this before, Lisa shared with me something that I think you said you got it from Anelia Benz, that fear is really just an invitation. And I really see and feel that to be a truth for me, and I've experienced that. I mean, I've talked about it, that fear, that, and I feel like that's something that's going to be, and is actually, I tried to do a musing about it this morning, but it just, I think my computer problem was starting then, obviously, now that I'm thinking about it, because I couldn't get it to do right. But there's with everything with all the aspects, all the implosion that we are having, right? Everything is coming back to be integrated. And so there is going to, I was and have been presented with a very fearful portion of myself that denied it was a portion of myself and tried its damnedest to scare me. And, keeping in mind the fact that fear is an invitation when I don't have to choose to accept. And because I think that's, I don't know, it felt for some reason important to throw that in this conversation.
Yes, because to bring what you're saying a little bit further around the corner is fear is an invitation, and you're the one who offered it. You're the one who sent out the invitation to yourself. It's only you.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's why I say I that was the other part of the musing is we all like to throw around that platitude that we are all one, but then we conveniently forget when we're presented with something that scares the bejesus out of us that, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, that's right. We're all only one. So that, because that was a big epiphany for me too. That's part of the whole widening of that aperture, is that, yes, I get it from the tiniest perspective. That's not me. And that is an entity outside of me. I can see it standing there. It doesn't look like me, doesn't feel like me. So therefore, and in conclusion, my little tiny perception is going to say, that's not me.
Yeah, but you're multidimensional.
Right.
So from your linear perspective, that's not you. And from the totality of you, that absolutely is you. And so that's what we're diving into right this moment in little stages, is that when you surrender, your attachment to all things, whatever it is, all of them, things that are, that have been, that were, that have yet to be, right? And in that moment, you go, and all things are available to you in that moment. What all things? All things that have been, were, haven't come in yet, and quote unquote, because in that moment you can be tiny and very linear to expansive to more and more and more and more and more. You can be the singularity and all one. So maybe a common tip is you're not small and you're multidimensional. And if you can, use that as your your way to look at things, your touchstone, that's going to help. Because we're it's here right in this minute.
Are we there yet? Yes, we're here. Yay!
And for all, I was going to say, for some it will be unmistakable, in certain ways, and for others it'll be unmistakable in other ways. And the first ones could be characterized as death-defying, unpleasant ways, and the other one could be characterized as cosmically, sublimely delicious way. And we choose in each moment, in each nanosecond. And as I said a minute ago, simultaneously. Hey, why would I do it one at a time when I can do them?
Yeah, man.
Well, that's the thing that I've been feeling is that, it's all happening now. I think, okay, so I got really dizzy. I think I feel as though the body is a focusing lensing mechanism. The physical body is a focusing lensing mechanism to not only house, but to shine the all that is through it.
Mhm.
And as that aperture and that grokking of that nature becomes centered and uh, anchored is another word I'm looking for.
Yeah, anchored is really helpful for people.
Right. And more of it, because I feel that as well. More separate aspects that have been off gallivanting in other realms and other realities, and they are beings of their own. It's not, I am aware that they are me, but I am also aware that they are beings of their own. And they're all coming, again, a matter of choice, I think, because in this moment, this portion of me chooses to be here now.
Mm-hmm.
And speak to all of you. And there are portions that are doing other things. Some of them, if I tune in really closely, I can feel into on purpose, at will, now, where I couldn't before. Um, I'm sorry, I don't know why I went there.
Well,
That's
let me just finish up where you were for a minute. So, and all y'all that are there, right, chose you right here. So you're all you, chose you to be the embodied focal point of that.
that makes sense.
You know, so that's a beautiful segue. Let's leave this energetic envelope here because that's a great teaser into the next one, which is your thought and deed are becoming inseparable.
All right, awesome. Okay, well, we will have, of course, ways to get in touch with each one of us in the show more section of this video. And if you have not already subscribed to both Conscious Conversation Central, if you're watching it on my channel or on BZ Rieger's channel for the Quantum Playground, please do so. And if you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified when we upload videos. So all right, I guess we're going to do this again. So, till next time.
Much love.